And a quiet time in the mornings or whatever, I can get pretty close to a gig.
It never varies here. It's always above 900, day or night, even during the peak usage hours.
Yeah, Craig, is it possible that you have other items on your router that are, other devices in your home that are pulling away?
Yeah, I mean, I don't
speeds.
know if Limry might be on. Hold on a second. Let me check one right here.
She's watching HD Netflix right now. That's what's happening.
Well, that explains everything.
Yeah, no, I'm getting this. No, I don't. At the most, she's doing Zoom, but I don't hear her, so I don't think she's doing Zoom.
I'm getting 410. I'm getting 410 right now on Wi-Fi.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not. Actually, yeah. I'm not complaining. I was just curious.
Yeah, it's not affecting it.
In terms of service, we've been doing tons of stuff and we haven't had any trouble at all. So I can't complain.
It would be very interesting to find, and I'll look into it, whether we can just individually run a process that looks at our ONT and says the total traffic. The ONT itself isn't smart enough to do anything, to run any processes, I don't think, except what it's hardwired for. But it may be possible to watch the traffic. I don't know. Certainly, Calix must have such a thing. It'd be interesting to. I'll look into that because I am curious to know how much traffic goes to, a little bit like what the town sees over a week, to see what their traffic on an ONT is.
Yeah, Graham, if you don't find anything if you run it individually, we could ask Tim if there's anything from the new Mosaic system they installed that allows individual, I know that they can do snapshots but with Mosaic, I think they can do snapshots over time.
Yes.
Not just one moment, but multiple moments. So that's another thing we could look at. But let's, the gang's all here, so let's get started.
Yep.
So welcome everyone. As we go into the second to last month of the interesting year that is 2020.
Looking better now.
All right, so first order of business is let's approve those meeting minutes from October 21st. Jim sent them around earlier today. Graham sent one change, just changing the name of the Department of Communications to Department of Telecommunications and Cable. I will make a motion that we accept the minutes as submitted with that one change.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Let's see your hands.
Aye.
Very nice. Good. Unanimous. All right.
Craig voted twice. I just want to report.
Let's report him.
Just like those Democrats in Georgia.
Those Democrats.
Yeah, but they fired the guy checking on it now.
All right. Hut report. What do we have going on at the hut, Graham?
I flipped the HVAC units. I did look up the maintenance on our units, and there are filters that we can inspect and look to see if they need anything. It didn't offer a very specific without looking at the HVAC unit itself. I didn't have the exact part number because I couldn't find the quote, but and so I kind of thought, oh, I'll send an email to Steve or to Gail, but I never got around to that. So if someone who knows maybe from the quote has the part number, save me going to the hut to look at the actual unit we have. But I'll look and see if they weren't very, in general terms, they didn't give the list of how often or what to do, which was fitted in with my thoughts on split systems that they don't really take very much maintenance. But
Graham,
give me the part number and I'll find out the specific. Yes, Steve, you want to send it to me in the chat box?
Do you have a copy of the manual?
I guess they're in the hut, or there's one copy in the hut.
I have one.
Then the other is in the hut.
I think we got two. I think the other one is in the hut. I'll look it up. I'll send it to you.
All right, thanks, Steve.
And on the other score, as Gail will tell you, we probed the security system, and I was what did the guy who shot Kennedy? I was the stooge or whatever who went in the first time, but Gail went in the second time to see if Simply Safe actually noticed.
I was watching you on that video, Graham. You look pretty shady to me.
Yeah, no, and I did ask I was curious. I asked the Simply Safe woman who called the hut, the number that we'd given, and the hut phone didn't work, just out of interest. So Gail set it to my cell phone, and I asked her whether she could turn on the camera to have a look when she got an alarm, a security alarm for intrusion, and she could not. So that was an interesting thing just to know, that she didn't have that option of linking the camera access to.
Hold, Graham, 1 second.
Yeah,
that's actually a setting in the Simply Safe kind of preferences, is to allow access to them to the camera. And I turned it on. So and it
had you already turned it on?
It was on. Look, let me check the settings while we're on the call here and see if make sure it's still on, because over the last week I've messed with so many of those settings. But yeah, that's interesting to me, because I thought that we gave permission to them to.
We may have given permission, but it might not be trivially, like she could be just sitting, or the Simply Safe person could be just sitting, taking phone calls at home, and
she's by a swimming pool.
Yeah, exactly. And they have no ready access to the, this does not necessarily mean there's a person sitting in front of 1,000 screens ready to zap us. So I suspect that even if we give them permission to do that, that's something that they'll hand to the FBI, but they won't necessarily be able to look at it easily. Anyhow, she couldn't, whatever our status was, and she didn't tell me it was because she didn't tell me that she was being denied access by our level of permission. So I was just curious, because if there was a smoke alarm, it would be useful to know that they could look at that. But anyhow, what else? Well,
the video verification I just looked at, it is definitely sent a yes, but it says during an alarm. So it may only be during the alarm, right? That as soon as they disable it.
She had an alarm when I was talking to her, I had to tell her the secret word. Don't forget, guys, it's not elephant, it's donkey. And when I said donkey, she turned off the alarm. Actually, she turned off the alarm. The alarm timed out, but she still had an alarm on her system. The thing doesn't scream at you for more than a minute or a minute maybe.
Yeah. Graham, It just occurred to me that this meeting is recorded. So we just made our safe word public. So it's okay. It's all right. I will we'll convene over email and switch it.
Black me out and make sure they can't read my lips. Oh.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I thought I was just going to have to shoot Jim Hemingway.
Yeah.
Nothing else on that.
Okay.
Actually, are you recording this and then you post it?
Mm-hmm.
It posts automatically. In fact, I don't even have any control over it because we're using a town Zoom account. We're not using my account because you have to pay so much for the recording space with them.
I'm editing some Zoom sessions as we speak right now, and you could have edited it, but maybe that's too much trouble.
Yeah, it's all right. We'll just change the safe word. It's okay. Graham, I hate to ask this of you again, but Tim, I talked to Tim today, and he really would like to see an example of the temperature alarm and the real alarm again, because we missed it last time.
Sure.
Would you mind?
Simply Safe didn't miss it, but it didn't send any emails. Is that what happened?
Correct. And what Tim needs is the exact emails that are coming through for those two types of alarms, so that he can put them on record with the with a manned email that's going to be getting them. Yeah. So I'm really sorry I goofed on that with the settings when you were in there last. Thank you.
I'll do it in the next. We can coordinate on that.
Yeah, and just so you know, you don't even have to coordinate with Tim. You can just do it because he doesn't need to know what's happening. All he needs to do is get those emails.
Yeah,
so he'll put them on.
It'll be better if he doesn't know.
Right, it'll be a surprise. So, thank you again.
Oh yeah, you're welcome.
All right. Anything else on the hut?
I've got the scene behind you, Craig, reminds me your broken pole. Did they ever come along? Do you know?
No, they not as of 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Nobody's touched it. But yeah.
Yeah. So I got a ticket number for it, so I know it's in Verizon system. If we see no movement in about 3 weeks, I will bug them again.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as you don't have a big ice storm, it's probably fine.
Yeah.
Is that a ticket number online that you can check? Is it? Is there that sort of system?
This is Verizon. No.
I was surprised. I was a little bit. Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, they're not there yet.
No. You're lucky you got a ticket number.
It is. Well, you know, the first time I called, they were so solicitous and they're like, no, don't worry about it. We'll get this taken care of. We'll get someone to call you back with a status report in 48 hours. Nothing. So the second time I got a ticket number, which lets me know it's at least being processed. But
no, it lets you know it's a ticket number.
Yes. It's a step. It's with these utility companies, it's just steps. You just have to do each step.
Making them up.
Do each step.
That's right. They just made it up. They just gave you a number.
Was it 48 or so? What was the
Yeah. All right, moving on to maintenance and service report. Let's see, what else is going on? So that 29 January Hills issue that happened, I still cannot submit an insurance claim yet because we still do not have an estimate from Triwire. So that's still on hold. I worked out I can't remember if I mentioned this last time, so I'll just go over it with it again. We determined that in the case that there's a tree issue where a repair can't happen unless some chainsaw work or tree removal happened, what Crocker is going to do is first call Jim and Graham just to see if you're available to zip out there with your chainsaws and take care of that. The next
Steve on Steve's side of the town.
I don't I don't know if Steve wants to be on the chainsaw call list.
To look at it. That's all. Look.
Yeah, I'll look at it.
Yeah, Steve. Yeah.
And it might fire up my chainsaw.
Yeah, but don't do it unless you've signed a town waiver.
Yeah.
Don't do it unless that's happened.
I'd rather sue the town.
Okay. All right.
Make sure you wear chaps.
But anyway, if Jim and Graham are not available, the next call that they'll make will be to the non-emergency fire department number. It's not the regular one that most people use. It's the one that's still monitored 24/7. So I talked to Walter, he's on board with that. I guess they can also make a call out to the highway department for certain emergencies well. So that's the number he gave me to call for that. And again, this will take care of, I would say, almost all issues of tree work mitigation that are preventing repair. There may be a rare case where there's like a huge tree problem that's going to require a certified arborist. And in that case, we will need to call out, Tim Otto is getting together a list of local tree companies to call so that they have that in their records just ready to go if that's ever a problem. I considered seeing if one of these tree companies would work on retainer, right? Of kind of like, okay, no matter what, we always have someone available, but I decided the expense isn't worth it because any case where there's a big tree involved, it's in almost all cases, it's going to be a national grid problem. You know, it's going to come down, it's going to hit that electrical first, and it's going to be up to them to mitigate it. There's, the chance there's a huge tree that's somehow impeding one of our repairs that's only affecting our little, 3-foot space there. It's just going to be so rare. I don't think it's worth a retainer expense. So anyway, hopefully
Gail, yeah, that's a good point. The problem that Jim and I went and looked at was an unlikely thing, and it was a small thing. I mean, it was just a couple of logs on the fiber, but it took a chainsaw. But that was a very unusual thing. Like you say, most of the time, there's no way that Jim or I should be cutting a big tree that's tying, that's compromising our cables. It's just, it's not.
Yeah, we just had a primary that a tree hit the primary, came down on my house lines, but missed all our wires. So that's a good defense up there.
We like those electric protecting ours. Yeah.
Except when they fry ours.
Except when they cause a fiber barbecue. We don't like that so much. Yep. Speaking of which, if any of you have been down Montague Road lately, you may have noticed huge coils still left on the poles.
Really? Oh, man.
Yep. I asked him about it today and asked him to check with Triwire, and he said, well, it's just the slack that they have to put. And I said, Tim, it's not slack. They're like, I don't know, a couple 100 feet, not on the horseshoes, just coiled at the poles. So yeah. I don't know what's going on with that, but anyway, if you notice that on Montague Road, I'm looking into it.
So Gail, they did do the splice job.
As far as I know, that was why we shut it.
It was going to happen the night of our last meeting. I remember you were.
That's right.
Yep, the 21st.
Yeah. So, did you notice that your service went out, or did you?
I honestly didn't even test it that night. I just kind of assumed that it was all out for the night. So
It must have happened because they accidentally knocked off someone who was right adjacent to the a friend. That was when the Holts lost their service.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so they did something. We just don't know what they did and why they left big coils up there.
Of course, you know, it may be that the splicing is done by a splicing crew, that the coils putting on the horseshoe,
that you're right. Yes.
That's a different crew. And so they're going to send a crew back out to do that. Well, you know, since it's not impacting service, they don't bother do it.
Yeah, no, just that's an interesting point. The people who do the splicing, they actually usually have a bucket because they're quite used to bringing the stuff down. But it may be that the installers hadn't kind of like put it into anything, and therefore they weren't set up to put it back into, you know, the horseshoes. So you've probably touched on one angle of it, but normally if it comes down out of the splicing crowd can definitely take it down off of the, you know, the backwards and forwards and then put it back up into it, but it may not have been it might not have been set up in that way. So
yeah, we'll see. To me it looks like an awful lot of coil, like more than what you would need for slack, but anyway, they will figure it out, and hopefully the next, if the Montague Road folks need to be down again, we'll do a much smoother process than what happened last time. All right, financial report, Steve.
Okay. Our current MLP balance, according to my calculations, is 124,331. with another 39,445 due in by the end of the month from Crocker for the September fee billing. And I just received an email today from Crocker with the data for the October billing of 39,654. So we're running pretty steady at, you know, approximately 39,500 is probably a good average for our monthly revenue. And it's holding steady. You know, there's these few variations from month to month. I am, you know, concerned about the outstanding maintenance charges that we have still not been invoiced for. We know that they're in excess of $10,000 from the spreadsheet we have, and that spreadsheet is old. There's probably been additional charges. You know, the amount in the grand scheme of things is not great, and we're just, you know, we're sitting on plenty of money to pay it. But, you know, running a business well, you want your you
want to know.
Yeah, and you want to keep your accounts current. And I'm starting to work on the FY22 budget.
Call from Air Hall.
And, you know, clearly we don't need $108,000 in our maintenance budget for next year. But figuring how much we do need, it would be useful to know precisely what our current maintenance charges are. So that's pretty much what I have to report.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so they are, Tim is still working on trying to get the bills. It just, yeah, really frustrating. I've had a couple of candid conversations with him about that. This is the responsibility of Crocker to make sure that your subcontractors are performing and meeting our needs, even if it's just billing. So, hi, Ayers. I'm so sorry about that I left you hanging out in the waiting room for so long. Oh, you're muted.
No problem.
There, we can hear you. Okay.
Becky, you're muted also.
Okay. To another meeting.
open it up and stuff. So see you guys.
Okay, bye.
If there's anything I miss.
Yeah, so anyway, just what's that, Graham?
Speaking of Triwire, did they you got that notice from them about they were in trouble because of not paying estate wage rates? Has that caused them any further problem? And was there an answer to the question? Does Crocker have to? Does the third party have to pay them wage rates? Do you want to talk about that? Given is that okay to?
Sure. So yeah, I think this happened after our last meeting. So Triwire was got a fine by the Massachusetts Attorney General for not following the acceptable wage rates. So we got a letter because Triwire is one of our contractors. It did happen on our project. It wasn't just like a general thing. It was on our project. What they did was they misclassified their inexperienced junior linemen as groundsmen instead of linemen, because there is no kind of step down from a full lineman. And someone complained, I don't know if it was an employee or somebody else. And so the Attorney General said, you can't do this. You can't classify the people who are out working on the lines as groundsmen, even if they never leave the ground, and they're inexperienced linemen. So they had to pay something like $60,000 in back pay to all of the employees that were misclassified, and they had to pay a fine to the state of Massachusetts.
Ooh.
So Dave did.
Triwire seems like sort of a flaky organization, to be honest. Am I right or wrong? I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah. They're. I think their employees are great. They do good quality work out in the field. Their billing, their communications, and their kind of like office and management is messy. It's not great.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so I did check with Dave Popolowski, the general project manager, and did get confirmation that going forward, all workers on the Shutesbury project are paid the correct wages. They're going to be very careful about that. He gave me his assurance of that. And they're going to be sending the wage reports, which now I guess I have to look at, according to Donna, every month. I don't know how to read a wage report, but Becky said she would show me how, just to check it to make sure that it's correct. I don't know. It doesn't really seem fair to me. It's like, we're not hiring them. It's Crocker. Shouldn't Crocker be, looking at this? But the way that the law is written, it really is up to each town and municipality to make sure that your contractors, your subcontractors, that everybody gets paid, or else it leaves room for misdeeds. So that's
Gail, this is for the maintenance work they're doing now.
Right. The fine that they paid was for our construction.
Right.
But the
ongoing is for the maintenance.
Right.
Well, getting those reports might be useful, because maybe it would be one way of our tracking what they're actually doing out there.
I've received 1 million PDFs of such things. Every contractor who has employees working has to sign one sheet. Well, the way they always seem to do it is one sheet per person, saying the hours they worked and the name of the person, and they sign individual sheets. I never looked or in all those sheets, I never cross referenced it, because it was just to put them in a situation where they've perjured themselves if they're cheating. The problem gets sorted out by all of those people who work in the field, who, if they know what their wage rates are, and if they're not being paid, then that's it's the employee driven thing, and you know, and the paper trail is just to put them in a situation where you know, so anyhow, there's hardly anything you could extract that would be useful from and just getting a stack of PDFs of it would be hard to cross-reference anything at all from my experience of those pieces of paper. The names of people weren't necessary. I don't know. It was hard to tell. So,
okay. All right. Well, in good news, my weekly meetings with Tim, the new operations manager, are going really well. I feel like things are just moving forward, that things are not falling through the cracks. I'm really impressed with him so far. He's on top of all of the bazillion details that we need to keep our network running well. And he has good follow through. You know, I'm finding I'm not having to remind him as often to do things. I do now have visibility into all dispatches. So whenever a dispatch is called, I get an email saying Tri-Wire has been called to do this. So this is going to help us not only anticipate some of the billing once we get those details, but also with customer issues. When someone calls me to complain and says, you know, when is this happening? I'll know exactly when. We also have good news on our inventory front. If you remember last time we spoke, we were like dangerously low on all supplies. So we did get a batch of 10 ONTs. So that will hold us over until the end of the year, when we'll get another batch of 20. We also got a small batch of various drop lengths to tide us over. And another one is expected sometimes in January.
Where did we get those, Gail? Where were they from?
Crocker found a vendor that was able to supply them.
Cool.
In further good news, we actually won't have to use our small supply of the drops that we do have, because Crocker got kind of just fed up waiting for Tri-Wire to do what they needed to do. So they hired Certex, our old installer, to take care of some of these lingering installations that have been waiting 5 or 6 months to get broadband. So all of those, they're just going to drive out once to save us on transportation costs, and do a blitz in a day, like 3 or 4 of these installations. And then there's one little repair that also has to happen that they're just going to take care of. So that's going to happen not this Saturday, but next Saturday. And they have these drops in stock, so we're not going to have to use our small supply for that.
That's all good.
Yeah. Let's see. I talked about how we still don't have the billing and invoice information. We'll keep working on that. Tim and I are almost done with the customer survey that we had worked on last time. You all gave me some great suggestions about questions to ask and some questions not to ask. And that was put into a online survey. I made some edits to it. And so I think it'll probably be ready to go out next week, and we will have full visibility in all the reports. It's going to come from broadband@shutesbury.org. So I think it just, people may be more transparent if it comes from us instead of a Crocker address. I got a call from a lawyer at the Department of Telecommunications and Cable about the surety bond issue that we've been working on. To refresh you all, that we decided to file a petition. I'm pretty sure it was Graham's idea, to try to get rid of the $7,000 in surety bonds that we have to pay to the utilities every year in case we should go bankrupt and they have to remove all of our equipment and lines from the poles. It doesn't make any sense. We're a municipality. We're not going to go bankrupt, knock on wood. even if we did, the assets have so much value that they never need to be taken off. The utilities would just absorb them and use them for their own. So this really doesn't make sense. The way to get it removed in a global way is by working with the Department of Telecommunications and Cable. So we got the letter out to them. We got the letter of support from Representative Blay and Comerford. It's all good. But the lawyer called me because he said, you're missing a couple things here. I can't really process this. So we were so close, Graham, but not quite.
What did they need?
They need a affidavit from me because I'm the submitter saying I am who I say I am and I'm allowed to represent the Shutesbury MLP. So I got that taken care of. Grace Banich does not have her notary public yet. So she's hoping to get it this week. This might get pushed to next week. I know I could run around and find someone in town who's a notary, but I'm just gonna wait for Grace here.
Susie Moji's a notary. The former town clerk, Susie, is a notary. I'm sure she'd do it too.
Yeah. I want to let her retire in peace if I can.
I hear you.
But she's actually still an assistant town clerk. So.
I think maybe post-election that may not be the case. I could be wrong about that, but.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm going to wait to see if Grace gets hers. If it goes on too long, I'll just find another one. It's not a big deal. Just, slightly more inconvenient. What else? So we also needed to submit full copies of all 3 license agreements. So all 300 pages of every single license agreement, not just the helpful excerpts that we highlighted in our letter. And each of the utilities need to get their own full hard copy certified letter with the entire complaint that's been submitted to the DTC. So, we need to give their license agreements back to them along with our letter and send it off. So anyway, annoying paperwork, it's fine.
Sounds like the healthcare system.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
We're obviously keeping lawyers employed by this, so.
Yeah, he was the lawyer I talked to, he was very helpful, and I was just transparent. I'm like, I'm not a lawyer. I've never done this before. You just need to talk me through exactly procedurally what you need here. And so, he was good about that. And I'll just keep plugging away at that. In other advocacy news, I had a conversation this week with John Lunt, who is the MLP manager in the town of Greenfield. They are deploying their own system right now. It's interesting. It's mostly based on fixed wireless, not so much fiber to the home.
Yeah.
The deployment costs were just too much, and they have multiple providers up there. So they're following a different model. They have no state money. It's all done through a revenue-based bond. So anyway, it was interesting to talk to him, but the reason he called me is because he is putting together a small or maybe large group of MLP managers throughout the state of Massachusetts in the hopes of creating a kind of coalition to try to work through procedural and legal issues with utility companies. So it's nothing about it's not like Wired West. It's not like a combination ISP. It's just getting all of us together, making sure that all of our senators and reps are on board so that they can work on our behalf to change legislation so that get the annual utility fees reduced, like pole rental fees. That's the thing that I suggested we go after first. Is try to just get those removed or reduced to save us and all municipal networks money. It may be a long shot. I can imagine the utilities are going to fight it tooth and nail, but it sure would help. Another interesting thing I found out is throughout the town of Greenfield, they had old fire boxes, fire communications boxes, those little red things, the red like phones that are connected to telephone poles throughout the town. And they already had these fire lines up on a majority of the poles within the kind of like the Greenfield area. They didn't even ask permission to put up their fiber. They just slapped it right on top of where their fire lines were.
Well,
and
because
Yeah.
that's in our license, that's the town access or the town system.
Right.
Northampton, no. Hadley apparently is doing the same thing. They've got a contract to run fiber between all of their town buildings, which will cover a fair few miles, and then later. So that'll be a town system, but they'll have extra fiber for doing other things, and then the other things will come along.
I remember back some years back when we were still trying to figure out what we were doing back in the, Wired West is working on this. Somebody found, probably Jim Draw, that there was this provision in the law that went way back that allowed for this municipal connection to the poles. And, it was by right that the towns could do this, but it had been put in place specifically for those fire alarm systems that a lot of towns had. And when, I think it was Wired West, whoever started pushing on this, they got pushed back legally that no, this couldn't be expanded into this new internet usage that was specifically for this fire usage. So, I sort of congratulate Greenfield on just going ahead and doing it and saying, so what are you going to do about it? There may be a difference between you've already got something up there, so you substitute one cable for another is a little different than our going out there and hanging cables where there never were any.
Yeah, we did look into this, and it was a no-go for us because there just wasn't space. There wasn't enough space between the electrical and the Verizon line for us to be in there safely and legally, because our poles never left area for a fire line initially, so it just wasn't there.
Yeah, and they never would have done the make ready work, would they? If they knew that we were gonna not do their normal.
Gail, did John Lunt mention how well or how successful their adventure in Greenfield is? I mean, I see those wireless things on the poles all over town, but I was curious to know whether it's actually working pretty well for him or not. I have no idea. Just curious.
Yeah. Selling it's a problem because they already have competitors there. Yeah. Everyone's served by, it was either Comcast or Charter, and I think they might have even two, like maybe Verizon too is one of their people who serves the area. So it's not
DSL.
Yeah. So they had I think he said a 30% take rate of what they built out. They will not be building out the entire area. Like they're not going to go to all rural areas of Greenfield. They're focusing on highly populated areas. The big win that it's been this past year is being able to provide free or reduced adequate internet to their low income areas, of which there's quite a few in Greenfield.
Yeah.
So that's one of their big focuses is at least trying to get basic coverage to the people that need it in the populated areas.
That 30% take rate, I mean, this is what all of MBI's consultants were telling them. Well, this isn't going to be economically viable out in these towns because you only get 30% take rate. And, we just couldn't get through to these people. No, the take rate's going to be a whole lot higher here because there's no competition here. And they just, they were clueless that there could be places without competition. So.
Yeah, John was totally jealous of our take rate.
I can imagine.
said, I can't take credit. It kind of sold itself.
As an update, Row is at 75%, New Salem's at 78, Windsor's at 80, and Washington is at 70. So,
Craig, what's Wendell at? Wendell's almost, all their drops are almost done now, I believe.
Wendell isn't going with Wired West, I think. And so I'm only getting.
Oh, they aren't?
Well, they're not on the website and they're not in the reports I'm getting.
All right, well, just
Wendell's Whip City, where that Whip City deal, is that not Wired West?
Going directly with Whip City.
Yeah, well, it's very confusing because if you're with Wired West, you're also working with Whip City.
Right.
Yeah. Anyhow, that they I talked to a friend in Wendell, and I think he thought that most people who wanted it now have their drops in place. So that's kind of nice for them.
Excellent.
Oh, New Salem.
They're
They're up in 70 something. What did I just say? I think.
Yeah, and as far as I know, all drops are done. I talked to Mary Ellen and Kathy. Sorry, what's that, Craig?
New Salem is 78%.
Mm-hmm. Right. But their build out is complete or just about done, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And that is enough for them, so to speak. That's enough so they break even, or they whatever. Does anyone know that?
Probably.
They're on the Wired West package. 78% was good enough for Wired West, wasn't it?
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't like 60% was good enough for Wired West.
They're in the margin.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the other towns are just charging the Wired West rate, from what I can tell, but New Salem is tacking on $10 extra. I haven't talked. I don't for the ML, and that's going to the MLP. So I haven't been to a Wired West meeting in a while. I'm getting this from meeting minutes that I received. So I could go to one tonight if people have any questions for me to ask them, but otherwise I'll probably just skip it.
Yeah, I think it's okay. Is it even appropriate for us to keep showing up as non-members?
We're officially still members, I think.
Yeah, we paid that $1,000 fee. Although was that for last fiscal?
No, I thought
it was last fiscal.
Yeah,
they're still sending me minutes every month.
All right, well, just stay on the list then. Keep us posted. I like to know what's going on with them.
Yeah, no, I'm curious.
Yeah.
My Wendell friend said he was paying $120 a month for gigabit. So
yeah, no, I just went to Wendell's home page. There, it says they're charging $99 for internet and $20 for phone. So
okay, there's 120. Yeah. And do they have to? Does that include paying back the do they have tax increase as well? Are they?
That I don't know. That's not on the website.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll keep looking for it while we're talking. I might be able to figure that out.
I wonder if that $10 fee that New Salem is tacking on is to cover the debt.
I'm guessing that that's what it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, I heard from Jessica Belanger at the school today. She said there's 2 more families that we didn't know about that never got a connection because they couldn't afford it. So I'm going to try to squeeze them in on the CARES Act along with that other home. So that will need to get done before the end of the year. It will not cost us anything. Not even the $300 subsidy we normally pay for these. The CARES Act will cover the whole thing.
Gail, you mentioned that other home.
Yeah, there's one installation that's already in progress for a home in town that has a high school student that is unconnected. So that'll be taken care of. And then from the elementary side, I heard of these 2 more today. So we'll try to get them taken care of before the end of the year so that they can get in on the CARES Act.
And does Crocker deal directly with the invoicing to the CARES Act funding? Is that who Who pays? How?
We do actually. So once I get the bill for these installs, I will submit it to Becky for the town, and then we'll get paid back for it.
Yeah.
So that we pay everything, the customer doesn't see anything, and then we get paid back.
Yep.
Yeah, Becky is still working on potentially getting some subscription fees taken care of through the CARES Act, but it's in progress. So she said we don't have enough to talk about it tonight. So she'll keep us posted.
So the CARES Act and Becky will be covering this, the monthly subscription fee?
No, we'll only be covering the one installation in progress and maybe 2 more installations. I don't have enough details. I just heard about it today.
Oh, I see. I see.
And then in addition to that, there may be subscription fees covered retroactively.
Oh, okay.
But don't put that in the minutes, Jim, because
Sure.
it's just kind of an idea that we may or may not be able to take care of.
Okay, but I'll put the installation part in, though.
Yeah.
As of late October, Wendell's distribution line was complete, but they were still doing drops.
Uh-huh.
All right, that is all I have on my list. Does anyone have anything else to discuss?
This may be something I should pursue with one of you all, but we have divided our lot into 3 lots. And I remember a long, long time ago hearing that I think the service pole has an extra line, which would be for the lot to the south of us, between us and Jean and Harry. And I think somebody said that there was another, I don't even know what the right name for it, MST on the pole right across from 151, which could be a pickup. I mean, we haven't even put these lots on the market yet, but maybe this is in frequently asked questions, but I doubt it.
Yeah, it would be the MSTs, depending on how many ports we have open, that can be run to the lots that you're having. So what we would need to do is look at where the lot locations in relation to the open ports on the nearby MSTs. But for you, for purposes of the sale, I'm not sure how much it matters at this juncture, unless because they're lots, they're not houses, right? Right. So when somebody buys that lot and then decides to build a house, it's going to be incumbent on them to pay for their installation whenever their house gets built 2 years, 3 years from now. We have capacity in the network definitely to serve them. It's just a matter of the installation cost may be more or less depending on if there are available ports in that area. But it seems too premature to kind of do that investigation for potential buyers that don't exist yet, for potential houses that don't exist yet.
Is it a good idea for me to advise either the broker or the prospective buyer to say, better take care of this before somebody else grabs it? Or is it plenty enough that's more than just those 2?
Plenty of fiber on the pole right by your driveway.
Oh, are?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no rush.
Okay.
Yeah. The network was designed with plenty of excess capacity to handle this, and our policy is that we provide this service to anybody in town, excuse me, and we'll provide this to future building in town. So,
yeah, the only thing I would advise
buying a lot in this town can be assured that they will be able to get service.
Very good.
Maybe there'll be an expense, and we won't know what the expense is until we see the details of where the lot house are going to be.
Yeah. The only thing I would advise your buyers is that they are, of course, going to have to pay to run the fiber to their home, just like electricity. You know, that should not be a surprise to them.
Right.
If they are planning on putting in utility conduit, make sure they put in an extra conduit. They can ask us for the specifications.
Communications, yeah.
Yeah, that's really important but again, by the time you sell these lots and someone's moved in there and building a home, you're going to be long gone into your Florida or wherever.
Well, actually, see, that's the thing, because of lots of things. We were going to just bail on the house and then wait in the lots, but it turns out that Shutesbury has suspended the season for perk tests. It can do it any month of the year now. So it's flip-flop. We're going to get the lots on as soon as possible, because our real estate broker said, if I got a cash offer for you and they wanted to be in 45 days, you couldn't do it. I'm afraid she's right. It'd take us longer than that to get out of here.
Yeah. Graham, or sorry, Ayers, are you putting your the whole house on the market, or just the lots?
For now, just the lots.
I see.
Then later on, when we get stuff cleaned out. But there's these perk tests, and there's a lot of scrub growth that grew up. So I'm doing a lot of clearing. So if somebody comes up at the end of our little short driveway between us and Mark Olszewski, and who I guess just had his driveway finished along the northerly border. And you get to the end and here's nothing but scrub pine. So it's not too appealing. And plus we got to get a tractor in there to do the perk test.
Oh yeah, wow. All right, any other questions, comments, topics?
The only other thing I just wanted to quickly mention that we've had a number of discussions in this group about cell phone service at home and blah, blah, blah. And here in scenic Cooleyville, we have now gone to a situation where for whatever reason, we have 2 bars of service from Verizon that we never had before. I don't know if other people in town have experienced that, but my cell phone as we speak, I mean, has 2 bars of service on it, and I do not have any more drop calls, or I don't know. I don't know whether that's just me and it's unrelated to us in a sense, but I just thought I'd mention it.
Eric, is that from the cell network, or is that Wi-Fi calling?
No, that's from the cell network.
Yeah, that's from.
Okay. You can turn your Wi-Fi off and you get those bars. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think so. I assume so. Yeah.
They've added equipment. They've added equipment on a cell tower.
I think they've added equipment on a cell tower. Or Sprint has always worked down here. But it's worked down here for a while. So maybe they've got some deal with Sprint now. This is Verizon.
Eric, that you get your Verizon cell from the consolidated tower at the corner of 202 and the Pelham Amherst Road. And probably why you're getting 2 bars is because it's wintertime and there's and the service is much better in the wintertime because there are no leaves on the trees and everything else. That's the reason why.
Maybe that's it. I mean, I kind of thought they must have done something, but yeah, you could be. That's possible.
This time of year, I always get service here because once the foliage goes down, I can get all the way to the one in New Salem.
Oh yeah, you're ruining my story.
I thought the limit was
sorry.
That's all right.
Jim, I thought the limit was 3 kilometers. That's a lot more than 3 kilometers.
Oh, no, not with cell. It's really depend on sort of how the quality of the line of sight. That's all.
All right.
So it's cell can reach some distance.
I had a story. I think I got connected to the internet in October 2 years ago, and 1 year ago. Anyway, I got transferred to T-Mobile in August of last year. And as soon as I did, I had cell service at the house before I got connected to the internet.
Well, I think T-Mobile and Sprint work off the same tower on 202. I'm not certain about that.
Really?
But
wow.
Yeah, they have a different tower. They're the best service because they have a little tower.
That's right. They have the best service
that nobody else is on. And then New Salem has the AT&T Verizon towers over here. But once the foliage goes down, you get much better service. Wintertime, we get good service here.
Well, that could certainly be it. That's the right timing for that.
Oh, good. I mean, I get a bar to 2 bars. So.
Yeah.
Depending on the angle on the lake, because there's a little gap in the hill.
Do we have another meeting date?
We do. It'll be December 16th.
Okay. Well,
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, motion to adjourn. And I hope everybody has a very happy Thanksgiving, as happy as it can be in our little isolated bubbles.
Oh, really?
Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Right.
Take
Take care. Good to see y'all.
Good night.
Okay.
Good night.
Good to see you guys.
Bye.